Okay, folks, as predicted, the moment I got done uploading my video, I got just slammed with OCD telling me, no, Mike, you're not done. You have to find out what of Billy Tucci's creation she has occurred since The Way of the Warrior, which was the subject of my last video. The Way of the Warrior being the original 12-issue series that introduced She to the world, as well as the Tomoe issues and the She versus Tomoe issue that are all woven together. Those 16 issues make up She's introduction, and I covered that in the last video. So if you want to take a look, a retrospective on She, the Way of the Warrior, please check out the last video. And what I'm going to do in this video is give kind of a 50,000 foot view of where Billy Tucci took things from there. And the most immediate place that he took things was into the series Heaven and Earth. She, Heaven and Earth, or Toranoshi, Heaven and Earth, is a 4-issue miniseries that he released in which he tells the story of how Anna Ishikawa's mother, her Christian mother, has been kidnapped by the Kyoto Sahai, and she needs to find her mother. And one of the things that I learned from this series that I actually got wrong about Way of the Warrior is that the Kyoto Sahai, the warrior monk caste to which Anna belongs, and her mother doesn't belong. It's her father who was in the Kyoto Sahai, is not a Christian. These are not Christian warrior monks, and so the idea that the Kyoto Sahai is some sort of Christian warriors or something, uh, that conflict is something that is just with Anna because Anna's mother is Catholic and she raised Anna to be Catholic with her. So the conflict that Anna has felt throughout the She series is a result of her upbringing by a Catholic mother and by the grandfather in the Kyoto Sahai after the death of her father and brother. It's not a function of the Kyoto Sahai doctrines themselves because there is no blend of Japanese culture and Christianity that's going on there. So, my understanding of where Anna was getting her Christianity from is something that was not very clear to me when I was reading the series. So, I hope that kind of clears up if I had introduced any confusion into anyone's mind about where she was getting her Christian beliefs from and why they were having such a impact on her as she was trying to carry forward the mission of the Kyoto Sahai to avenge her family's deaths. So in this story, not only do I get that clarification, but we have the fact that Anna's mother has been kidnapped by the Kyoto Sahai for her Christianity because she's been spreading Christianity in the Kyoto Sahai. And here we have an example of a page from Heaven and Earth. Now, Billy Tucci explicitly says that he was experimenting with a kind of montage storytelling style here. And it's really fascinating to look at. And the fact that he was able to pull this off for 4 straight issues is really kind of amazing. What this style is, it has no panels. Every page is just a page full of images, and it is the comic book reader's natural progression from left to right and down left to right that carries the story forward. We know how to read these pages instinctively, even though we don't have the normal panel progression that we would normally see, where we'd be directed. But even then, we'd be reading panels left to right and then down and left to right. So wherever these images are popping up, they're popping up and they're moving so smoothly from place to place that we're actually able to follow the story through these connected images that don't have panel breaks. It really is amazing, and it's kind of interesting that nobody else has really tried very hard to pick up on this, but it's got this flow to it that it takes a little bit of getting used to, but once you've gotten used to it, boy, you pick it up like that. And I really congratulate him on the fact that he was able to pull off an experiment like this. It's really beautiful artwork. It was a little bit annoying at first because, I'm a traditionalist and I think to myself, hey, when something works, you don't need to really go beyond the borders. But man, removing the borders, that actually worked pretty well. So here we have this, like in here, we have an easy progression of understanding to see that her mother there has been kidnapped. She has, Anna is distraught to learn of this. You see the determination, and you also see the she makeup appear, meaning that she is getting ready to go on her quest. And then you see down in the last image, she's approaching a castle where she presumes that that's the next stage of her quest. So it's really, really impressive storytelling. And there are two stories in one in this book. You've got the main story with Anna Ishikawa, and then you have the story of Tora no Shi. And Tora no Shi is an ancestor, a Christian ancestor of Anna Ishikawa, who is led by a vision to a particular village that she is going to be defending. And she here you can see again the standard four image construction that just leads us naturally through the page as she's introduced to one of the supporting characters. And this character, Toranoshi, her story doesn't end in this book. It's actually continued into the later book, She Poisoned Paradise. So you will get two stories for the price of one in Heaven and Earth, and you will also get this Poisoned Paradise story that comes later and continues this particular character's story. Now, for more of the story of Anna Ishikawa coming out of Heaven and Earth, you actually have to make a detour into the one-shot Tomoe Unforgettable Fire, where Anna's friend and sometime foe, Tomoe, the Nara assassin, she gets wrapped up in the dealings of a demon who wants to destroy the world in nuclear fire. He wants to bring about a nuclear Armageddon. And so in this issue and in the first three issues of the She ongoing series, we get Tomoe and She working together to try and stop this demon from carrying out his plans. And this is the first time you really get a lot of overt supernatural elements to the She series. And after having such a subdued amount of supernaturality in the previous series, it almost kind of feels like a corruption going on. But you do have to have a little bit of it because you introduced a character, or Billy Tucci introduced a character called Pan back in Way of the Warrior, who was like a demon character. Now, that character does get a little bit more exploration in the She series in issues 4, 5, and 6. And in issue 5 in particular, you see Pan working with the detective from Way of the Warrior, Peter, who was injured severely at the end of Way of the Warrior. And this is one of the first times that we actually see him back in action. So by number 6, I got pretty tired of the series, and it wasn't something that really appealed to me anymore. Going forward, the art styles really started to change and get varied up. You started to see a more manga approach to the She artwork, and so this is kind of, if you wanted to have a hard cutoff on the series, issue number 6 is probably where I'd make my stop. But then, if you wanted to go back to Way of the Warrior, there's actually a couple of alternative ways of enjoying that. There is the 2-issue series, She Reikishi, and what this is a retelling of She, the Way of the Warrior, from the perspective of one of the detectives, Joe LaBianca, and he makes these journal entries that basically retell the entire story of She, the Way of the Warrior, and making profiles of the various characters and carrying the story forward as it goes. So that's a really interesting way of recapitulating the series. And Billy Tucci does it once again with the series, this time in 7 issues, She, the Illustrated Warrior, in which we're given a prose adaptation of She, the Way of the Warrior, with accompanying illustrations here or there. So if you really like She, the Way of the Warrior, there's more than one way to enjoy the series. Now, if you don't mind multiverses, and if you don't mind imaginary stories like Elseworlds in the DC universe, you can also pick up some miniseries like She, East Wind Rain, or She, Akai, or She, Senpo, all of which are set back in the 1930s and 40s and present an alternate version or versions of She, and also introduce the Billy Tucci character Victoria Cross. And that's about as far as I was willing to cover it. There are other She series out there, but it wasn't enough to really. When I see where the series is going and how there's a lot of supernatural elements that are invading the series, and how um, I'm basically lost interest from this point. So I'm not going to cover any future She material. But if you want to take a look at all things She, I would recommend going to Billy Tucci's own website, billytucci.com. You can also find Billy Tucci on Twitter at Billy Tucci. So if you're interested in finding out more about his products, you can either go to the horse's mouth himself, or go to the website and find out all there is to know. So thank you very much for watching. I hope this was a little bit of an interesting survey of the other products under the She banner. He's done a lot of crossovers with other properties. There's crossovers between Tomo and Witchblade. I think there was a She Daredevil crossover. I think there was a She Kabuki crossover. There may have been all sorts of crossovers with other materials, and so it's not that the story of Anna Ishikawa is really that narrow. It probably branches out into a whole bunch of places that you'd be hard pressed to construct a serious timeline. But there's a lot of material out there. Go to the Wikipedia page if you want a good listing of all that. And otherwise, I'm going to leave it at this. Thank you for watching. Please do subscribe for the next installment of whatever it is I decide to cover next, and I will talk to you later.